Yo, what is going on, everybody? Isaac Mashman here, and welcome back to another episode of Chase the Vision with Isaac Mashman, the show that is all about helping you become a more capable individual through sharing my experiences in business, life, and personal growth, and now the experiences of other people as well. So the past couple of episodes, I've had some amazing guests on the show, and I'm sure that all of you have gotten a ton of value. Now, today, I have a very close friend of mine. He's like a brother to me. He's somebody who I've done business with multiple occasions, actually co-hosted a podcast with, and somebody who is, one of my closest guys that I can go to and ask for advice or bounce ideas off of. And that is Eric Chow. Eric, what's going on, brother? How are you doing today?
I am doing absolutely fantastic, and I am excited to be here, man. Thank you.
100%. Now, I want you to kind of introduce yourself, man. Tell us a little bit about where you're from, what you do, what do you specialize in, and then we'll just have a good old conversation, man, and jump into a bunch of topics. Every single time we're on a call, an interview, or a podcast, it seems like we always talk about some really awesome subjects. So,
absolutely, man. I'm looking forward to seeing where this one goes. Well, hi, everybody. My name is Eric Chow. I am 19 years young, although actually when this episode comes out, I'll be 20. I'll be 20 years old. I'm pursuing management information systems at San Jose State University here in California. In the meantime, I am working as a tutor. I am very much into the business and podcasting world and personal development as well. And I think that's why Isaac and I connected. I think initially for podcasting, but we quickly realized we both have an interest in business and personal development. And that's been something that I've been very much interested in and focused on for the past couple of years. Born and raised here in California, love to travel and experience new things. And I think that life is something to be enjoyed and something to just a constant journey of growth. So, yeah.
100%. And we first got connected back in 2019 when you did Eric Chow Empowers podcast, which is just surpassing, I think, the 50 episode mark or somewhere around there.
Yes, sir.
And I was interview 5. So guys, if you want to really go deep into history, you could go make sure to check out his podcast, subscribe to him everywhere that you can listen, and check out some of, the amazing people he interviews. And it was really interesting, man, connecting with you, because sometimes you meet people along the journey that you just have this natural chemistry that flows in conversation and topics. And thinking about ideas, bouncing ideas off of one another, Napoleon Hill's mastermind principle. And we had one of those connections, which I think is really cool. And that developed into a friendship that we've had over the past couple of years. And we've both seen one another grow in a lot of different ways. But I want to talk about, a little bit of where you're going with, going to school, obviously getting a degree, but also tutoring and also having that interest in business. Where do you, anticipate winding up? Like, what is the vision for you?
The vision is exciting for sure. I think the first place to start is family. That's definitely a big driving force for me. Mm-hmm. So, for example, one of my big goals that I'm focusing on is helping my dad retire from his job in a couple of years. So that's a big one for me. So the first thing is going to be giving back to family. I want to send these guys on vacation. I've been fortunate enough to travel a little bit, and so I want to send them traveling some places. So that's a big goal for me in a couple of years. In the years following that, definitely focusing on business for, I think, probably my mid to late 20s. Definitely going to be focusing on that, just because I believe business to be an incredible platform. I think business is a tool, and it depends on how you use it. And I think business will be a very useful tool for me to do some good in the world and put out some great services and products and whatever I'm doing, wherever I end up. And then after that, I'm thinking maybe some nonprofit work, because I believe in service. And I think business will put me in a very good position to be in financially, and with my network of people who I'm connected with, to be in a good position to do some nonprofit work. And so that'll kind of lead me into my 30s, and who knows what'll happen after that.
This is about to be good, because you already touched on some cool things. This is about to be phenomenal. Let's go ahead and talk about philanthropy for a second. Now, you talk about how being in business will basically position you and set you up to be able to give back more. Now,
Yes,
that's
sir.
something that a lot of people don't quite understand. They think that being in business and generating revenue and making money is all about you. But at the end
Hmm.
of the day, if you're set up and you have more than enough, you're in the state of abundance, you have, a couple of digits in the bank account, like you're set, you're good, your business is generating revenue, then you're able to give back more. So what are
Yes,
some
sir.
charitable causes that you anticipate, you're going to really pay attention to? Because I want to look back in this interview and be like, Eric, you did every single thing that you said you're going to do in this interview.
What's a little challenging about answering that question is I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to want to focus on when I hit my 30s in terms of service. And I do want to touch on this actually before I answer that question, because that's a very good point. A lot of people don't see business as a way to do that. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't see business as a way to do that myself. In fact, if you went back a couple of years before you and I met for sure, um, I think if you would ask me about business and entrepreneurship, I would have said the exact same thing. Profit, 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 me. And that just wasn't my style. You know me, I'm very much a giver kind of a soul. Um,
What
and
made that change?
you've had to kind of reel me in a little bit. And I would say what made the change is I realized my similarity with a lot of business people.
Mm,
And what I mean by that is I was very much into the personal development world. And personal development, I think, is something that a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners who are serious about it, not just fancy entrepreneur, who are serious about it, actually spend a lot of time doing. I believe that those are people who are also trying to master their craft and develop themselves as people. And I think that was what realized my end, because I was like, if I'm working on bettering myself and this business owner is working on bettering himself, clearly there's something I'm missing, because it's not just about them anymore. I know that because that's what I'm doing. And if we're doing the same thing, then I know that. And I realized business, yes, it's a big world out there. There are a lot of people who do this profit and me thing. But what is business in the end? It's about providing service, providing value, and then getting rewarded for it. That is the most simple, basic definition of business in general. And so I realized, well, then maybe I don't have to operate out of this me perspective. I can just operate out of this adding value perspective and then get rewarded for it. And then, of course, as you said, it'll lead me into a position where I'm good myself, which means I can help other people be good themselves.
mm-hmm.
And I think I love psychology, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It's very, very simple. If you study the Maslow hierarchy of needs, you start with the basic survival stuff. Do you have a roof over your head? Do you have food to eat? Okay, maybe you move up a little bit. Great. Do you have clothes on your back? Very simple things. Then you move on to higher levels. And once you've taken care of all of that, you're able to focus on the highest level. I forget what title that Maslow uses, but you're able to focus on that highest level of giving. For me, I think it'll be helping people who just aren't in a position to pursue whatever it is they want to pursue. I believe that the biggest thing I can do for the world is to help people who aren't in those positions to do whatever they want to do. Whatever their definition or version or vision of success is, let's see if I can help those people do that. Because if I can help them do that, they can go on to do some really great things. I don't need to be the next Martin Luther King Jr., but if I'm the Martin Luther King Sr., that'd be pretty cool to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's, going back to what you're doing this for, I think that there's a balance that most people don't understand. Now, normally I'm the kind of guy to say there should be no balance in your life, like go all in, go all in, go all in. But when it comes to what you're doing and how you're building and what you're pursuing in life, there's a balance between ego, right? Ego isn't innately wrong. It's what you do with that ego that can be misperceived or can be done with the wrong ill intention. And there's a
Yes, sir.
balance between doing it for yourself and also doing it for other people. And business at the core is not just about providing service, but also about providing solutions and solving
Mm-hmm.
problems. And we were talking about this, prior to the call, about what we could do to expand our service and provide more solutions to other people. And that's how you scale in business. And
Mm-hmm.
it's been really, really interesting to see that transition too. And for somebody, what I'm most interested about with you, Eric, is you have this natural gravitational pull to you with like the way that you speak, and you're not going out of your way to build up some multi-million-dollar business right now that you're building from the ground up. Now, I'm not saying that, right now you are in network marketing. We'll talk about that for a little bit too, because this is something that most people also have the misconception about, saying that network marketing, MLM, it's a pyramid scheme. Okay. All right, Jack, go ahead and define what a pyramid scheme is. Let's see if you actually know what you're talking about. But that is a business that can contribute and build up residual income. What's the goal with, the network marketing business that you're building up on the side? And you're not even aggressively building it in like the sense of, you're not sending out thousands of DMs, but I see you building your business in the correct way. How did you first get started with that, and where are you going with it?
Where am I going with it? I'll answer that first. Is absolutely everything I already said.
There we go.
Done. Everything I've already said is connected to that.
That's the vehicle.
Absolutely. And how did I get started with it? Well, I think, like you said, a lot of people mess it up. And I think the first thing you do is you look at the right people. I think maybe the second thing. The first thing you should do is make sure it's you look at the plan and the way things are structured.
Mm-hmm.
But then the second thing is you look at the right people. And because I think that like anything, we like to put labels on things. And unfortunately, we sometimes blame the label rather than looking at the situation. Right? It's not that this person, it's not that all of this race have a certain stereotype, or it's not that all of this political party, or it's not all of this whatever religion, all of this whatever. There are some people who don't do it right. And so I think that it comes down to the people. Network marketing at a very basic level is a great concept if you really understand it. It comes down to how you use it. Just the same thing as we've talked about with business. It comes down to how you use it. Some people use it as me. Other people use it to provide solutions and add value. It just comes down to how you use it.
I think if we were to split the word into two and define network and define marketing, you'd realize that it's pretty much the same thing in every single business. Network, it is a group of people, more than one. And then marketing is to expand the knowledge of something. And so when you combine that, having a network and you're marketing it to other people, then you're just expanding business, expanding wealth, expanding solutions. And to anybody who's thinking about getting involved with MLM, that was how I first got started in business. Now, I mean, I had a couple endeavors prior, wanting to do a drop ship clothing line and all this other stuff, not knowing what I was doing. And then I got into 3 different companies 4 different times. But what that allowed me to do was experience. It allowed me to get mentorship. And since you got involved with your opportunity now, for particular legal reasons, we can't mention the companies. A lot of companies, want you to get written permission. And so out of respect for that, out of respect for Eric's business, we won't mention what he's a part of. But I've noticed you have really grown. And I've noticed that the way that you're talking, the way that you're messaging, like you asked me, like I'm an active customer of yours. Like I've bought from you a couple of times now. I'm taking, what you offered pretty much every single day in my regimen. And you approach me in a very professional way, but not like over the top, but you are handling yourself how you should handle yourself. Yeah. Why do you think people, you mentioned people do it the wrong way. What do you mean by that?
I think that sometimes people put out the wrong message, number one. Sometimes people, business is something that most people don't particularly understand at a deep level. And I think that people get in with unclear expectations sometimes. That other times they don't know how to go about it while respecting people. This is a business of people, by definition. And so it becomes real obvious if you are, for example, doing me.
Putting numbers on
yeah, it becomes real obvious when you're doing that. It becomes real obvious when you're so focused on building your business that you're not focused on adding value. It becomes real obvious when you aren't treating people right. It becomes obvious when you're not actually looking to help people. It becomes obvious that you're new into business and you don't know what the heck you're doing, and you don't have guidance, and you're not taking that guidance. There are so many very simple things that I think people getting into network marketing don't get. whether by themselves or because of the people they're with or the companies they're working with. I don't know.
Right.
But I think that there are a lot of easy mistakes to be made and creates a bad rep.
Well, not all companies are the same too. That's
Yes.
what most people don't realize. Different opportunities, different services, different
Yes.
People in the leadership structures. You have to look at what the track history of those people are. And this is going back to doing your due diligence and doing research, just like you're getting a job, man. If you're doing competitive research on what job you're wanting to pursue for a 9 to 5 or for a career, you're going to look at benefits. You're going to look at the opportunities for scaling up the ladder. You're going to be looking at what's in it for me, what's the corporate leadership. And it's the same thing that you can devote towards finding an opportunity or an MLM. But I think that if you actually run with it, and you don't have to have experience going into it. But the thing is, you mentioned and you touched on something that was a really great point of, it's not that you don't have the experience, it's that you're not listening to the people and the guidance that is being given. And that's a big part of mentorship. Now, I have never really had too many physical mentors in my life. I'd have a couple here and there, but most of my mentorship has been through virtual means, right? YouTube University, or reading books, or, studying that regard. What is some of the, top picks for you when it comes to personal development or mentors?
As in personal relationships, or going on to kind of what you're talking about with books and YouTube University, etc.
With books and YouTube University.
Perfect.
Tuition free.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I am an avid reader. I just took a glance over here. Isaac saw me. I don't know if this is going out on video, if it is or not. Okay. So I just glanced over here at my book collection over here. So I'm an avid reader. I read every single day. I have read probably almost a dozen books just this year so far. And by the way, we're recording this in May. I just want to point that out. So by July, I mean, I imagine who knows where we'll be, right? Yeah. I've read a lot, and I love to read, and I'm an avid reader. Some of my personal favorites, I mean, this book extremely well. It's right next to my my desk here. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill is one of my absolute favorite books there is. In the world of business, I think Entrepreneur Roller Coaster by Darren Hardy. Darren Hardy's the person who wrote The Compound Effect. I think those are both amazing books. My philosophy on business is definitely derived also from The Go-Giver by Bob Burg and John David Mann. That's a fantastic book. I mean, I've read a lot, to be honest, and I love to study business. I love to study personal development. I love to study the people who have achieved some level of success financially, relationships, purpose and meaning, etc. So I spend a lot of time on that. I don't spend too much time on YouTube anymore, but there are a lot of amazing creators who are doing amazing things in different areas. I like to study people who really manage their lifestyle in certain ways that work for me. I know that people, like for example, productivity is something that there's so many different strategies and whatnot, and certain things will work for different people. So for example, if you're looking at how you can improve your own productivity or your own lifestyle in the current way that you're living, you want to look at what actually will work for you, right? So I talked to some of my friends and I'm like, hey, listen, I watch X YouTuber and Y YouTuber, and I look at this resource and that resource to improve my systems and processes that I use in my life. But I also know your personality, and this ain't going to work for you. So I think that's also important.
Sometimes finding people who you can relate to is very, very important. For example, certain mentors that I've studied more than any of them aren't the ones that necessarily have the most success. Now, obviously, I'm very picky I'm not going to listen to just anybody. And that comes to self-respect, having an understanding of why not go to the person who is getting it straight from the source, because you have to think about it. It's like that game of telephone that you used to play in elementary school. You start on one side of the room with a message saying the cow jumped over the moon. And by the end of it, it's like the trick's rabbit ended up eating yellow jello. Like, I don't know, like it is something entirely different. And that's the same thing with information that's being passed down. You're getting second, third, fourth, fifth hand information. And that's why for example, Think and Grow Rich, you can actually go a step further. And instead of Think and Grow Rich, you can study, the people above him, Andrew Carnegie. You can study the people who he learned from. And then you could go back from there. And a lot of the principles that are spoken about in Think and Grow Rich are also biblical. And you could also talk about that too, which is there's so many different things and ways to tie information. And what most people don't understand about that book too, is I have it over to my right. Think and Grow Rich is actually a rendition and a condensed version of Napoleon Hill's work, which was 15 volumes, called The Law of Success. And it was a course that he used to teach. So it's like 600 pages long. And I have it on video format, guys. Make sure to go to the YouTube channel if you're listening to this and hit that subscribe button and watch the interview. But there's always something to learn. And a lot of times that information, you don't want to read the bridged version. You want to read the unabridged version, right? As like a literature. I don't want to read the dumbed down stuff. I want to read the legitimate stuff that I can really grasp and get the meat. I don't want to get the little tidbits and the little scraps. I want to get the meat of it. Have you ever had the opportunity of reading Business of the 21st Century by Kiyosaki? Okay, I was going to say, if you're an MLM, then you definitely got to read that. And the funny thing about that is, prior to getting introduced to the opportunity for you and becoming a customer, I had somebody approach me like a couple of years ago as an IBO, and he made me read the book before he even allowed me to get on another call. And so I read the book and then got that opportunity call, decided it wasn't for me as an IBO. But regardless, man, so travel is something that's important to you. You've mentioned this in private conversations multiple times, going back to when we were hosting Link and Grow together. What was the big effect of travel on your life? Like what stood out about it? What did you enjoy about it? And why is it something that's important to you to the extent of sending your family on vacations?
I believe that most people live in a bubble. They don't get the chance to, one, get out of their area, but two, get out of their mindset. This, I mean, from when you born and raised in Jacksonville, Florida, and then moved out to California, and then now moving out to even other places. You had your trip to Europe. What happens when you travel is you get to see the world, and that's very cliche sounding, but it does make a difference, especially the more you do it. It's no longer, I'm living in this bubble that is the California Bay Area. And I'm lucky, the Bay Area is extremely diverse, but we have our cultures here. And so it was important for me to get out and see, hey, what can I realize when I'm outside of this area? Well, what I realized is, number one, the world is huge. A lot of people I remember in my high school and when I was, going on all these trips, sometimes they would be like, oh my God, you're literally going everywhere. And I'm like, not even close.
Yeah.
I've barely touched anything. But because I'm only able to say that because I'm going out there and I'm seeing all these great places and these great sites, and I'm doing all these fun adventures, but I know there's so much more out there. And I think that expands your sort of abundance mentality when you realize there's so much out there, one, to see, there's so many people to meet, there's so many ideas out there, there's so much to learn, whatever you want to say. It's such an abundance mentality. Number two, you realize people aren't all that different. I think sometimes we see, person from this country, person from this background, whatever. No, you go anywhere and there are going to be some very, 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 very nice people who are going to be incredibly kind to you. Even if you hardly speak their language, there is, for the most part, a level of kindness and human connection that can be created. That's a second really powerful lesson that I've learned going around the world. And I haven't traveled crazy amounts, but I've traveled a decent amount to know that.
And it's almost like a paradox or not a paradox, but an oxymoron, because it's like jumbo shrimp. Shrimp are small, yet jumbo, and the world is small, yet it's huge. And what I mean by small is we're able to take a flight, and this was what happened to me. I was in Los Angeles taking a flight to France back in 2019, which I'm ready to go back, travel to Europe and go see more of the world. But I fell asleep in the clouds and I woke up across the freaking planet in Europe. Yeah. And that really changed my perception, because I'm like, yo, I'm here. Like I'm across the pond. Like, whoa, what is this? And I remember that
big pond.
And you saw my face light up when I said that, because I remember looking at Google Maps and I see like, what the fuck? I'm in France. And I'm
Yeah.
like, huh? But then you get on a train, you go walk. I walked around Paris, then I got on, found my way through the train station which felt bigger than the fucking world because I couldn't find anything. But I took the train. I was down in the south of France. Then on my flight home, I was in Portugal, and I'm like, yo, if I spent,
Yep.
a couple of years traveling, I could literally see everything. Like, not in the sense of like see everything, but I could go to every single country easily, because we live in a world of technology. We live in a world of air travel and flight. And then before we turn, 80 years old, we're going to be able to see us hop on a freaking rocket that launches us to orbit. And then we're going to be able to get to the other side of the planet in literally 30 minutes. Like, that's the way that we're going. And it's so amazing. And it's such a blessing too. It's just, the one thing that people need to get over is these mental blocks and these mental barriers that are preventing them from actually going out and experiencing. It's not difficult. I spent $2,000 on my trip, and I was over in France for a month and a half, and
Sure.
I met some amazing people. I had some amazing relationships and friendships that were blooming and blossoming, but it's not as difficult as it seems. Now, what have you done to overcome maybe some of those mental blocks, going back
Mm.
to how you originally viewed business and getting
Mm.
involved with network marketing? I imagine maybe you had some limiting beliefs. What have you done to overcome those? Because that's an issue a lot of people are faced with, including myself.
And it's a damn hard one, and I continue to face them. I'm working on overcoming many. Um, I think that one thing that has really helped me is just a deep innate desire to grow and assume into, I guess you could say, assume into that better version of who I can be and what I can do.
Hmm.
And it just, there's that deep desire of, I am not okay staying the way I am.
Why not?
I love myself, but I know there's so much more for me. There has to be. It's just that deep innate desire. Like, there has to be more. And I take that energy, and that's good enough for me, man. Because that is so meaningful to me. I think sometimes, like, for example, people say they're in this rough situation, and we'll naturally say to them, "Oh no, you're fine. Don't worry, you're great." No, they're not great. Clearly, look at them. They're crying or they're struggling or whatever. But the beautiful thing is they can change. The beautiful thing is they can get better. No, you're not okay. And that's okay too, because you can grow, you can change. And it's just that deep kind of growth mindset, as cliche as that might sound. It's just that belief that, yeah, I can change. Yeah, I can be better. Yeah, I can do more. Whatever that might mean for you. And so whenever I have a limiting belief and I realize I have a limiting belief that's holding me back, it just goes back to this desire like, yo, that ain't okay with me staying here. That ain't okay. I need to be better. And that drives me forward.
Hmm. Now, what was it like growing up? Because obviously, based off the situation, the family that you come from, that has an influence and an impact on your belief system towards money, towards people, towards business, towards success. What was it like growing up, man? Because this is actually a topic I don't think you've ever really openly discussed that I've found, and that's why I'm wanting to ask you all the questions that have never been asked before to really allow you to share. You're so often on the other side of the microphone
Yeah.
asking the questions. It's about time we switch this up for you and start having people ask you the questions, brother.
I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that. Um, yeah, no, that's a very good question. And absolutely, your upbringing does make a very big difference in terms of, excuse me, your beliefs. So, should I start with the good stuff or the bad stuff?
Start with the bad, end
Okay.
off with the good.
Okay, sounds good. Um, I definitely did not have a very good view or positive view of money. You mentioned that. I did not. We grew up extremely middle class. We were not poor by any means. And I'm fortunate to have two incredible parents who work extremely hard, and that's why we've been able to travel a little bit. And we live in a decent home. and we have some decent cars, and we live well, right? I did not have a very positive view of money, however, because I always saw them working.
Mm.
And I was the kid growing up who I just wanted to live my life, man. I was going on these trips and I was like, man, I'd love to travel more. I would love talking to people. I was like, man, this is great. I loved, I was doing martial arts for a long time. I was like, man, I want to do this. I wanted to have fun, man. I wanted to live life. And I saw my parents, I saw teachers, I saw people around me who had to do so much just for money. And I didn't have a very positive view. I was like, money's terrible. Money's evil. Money, why do you have to spend so much time chasing money? I
Mm.
remember, people would ask, adults always love to ask you, what do you want to do with your life? Whatever. And I hated that question, man. I just couldn't, like, all these job titles and majors and whatever didn't, like, none of them fired me up, man. I looked at that and I was like, it sucks. And here's the thing, I was a very academically strong kid. Any subject, I was amazing at it academically. And so, frankly, if somebody looked at my grades, they could have said, you can go into anything. And there have been people who have told me, like counselors and whatnot, Eric, you can literally go into anything you want. And I'm not saying that to brag, I'm saying that to tell you, literally, I have the academic mind that is required to succeed in whatever field. But I didn't care about it. And I hated the fact that people were constantly trying to force me into that because of this thing called money.
Mm.
And so that was something I definitely had to overcome. And I'm happy to say I've done a pretty good job of it so far. Other limiting beliefs I had, I mean, I would say I love my parents, but at the same time, I think there were certain things that happened where it didn't allow me to make my own mistakes. And I would have to kind of force my way into making my own mistakes because I knew that sometimes things you need to learn from your own experience. And it's great to learn from other people's experience, but some things you need to learn on your own just so you understand what it means and how it feels. And I was lucky enough to be in an environment where I could make those mistakes without having serious consequences. And so I wanted to make some mistakes, but in some cases, I wasn't allowed to. I wasn't allowed to do that. Other limiting beliefs, I was not edified as a kid to be a next genius. There was kind of contradicting messages. When I went to go to school because of my academic success, I was like, yo, this kid hella smart, man. Go to Eric if you need help, man. I don't
Literally.
care what subject it is. If you struggling, go to Eric.
Yeah, go cheat off of his test.
Yeah, I was that kid. I
Yeah.
don't think anybody ever cheated off of me in terms of a test. I mean, unless they like snuck in, but nobody ever asked me that. But if they wanted help on a subject, I was definitely one of the go-to.
But at home, you
Um,
weren't really getting that same
exactly,
response. Interesting,
exactly.
dude.
It was a very interesting contradiction. And it's not that my parents thought that I was an idiot or anything, don't get me wrong, but they didn't think I was anything special. And I think in a sense that was a good thing. You don't want to feel like you're something special and you're entitled or anything like that. That's definitely not what you want. But I think that contradiction created a little bit in me where, like, one thing I remember doing for a long time was trying to impress people. I wanted to be the cool kid, man. I wanted people to think, yo, this guy Eric is really something special. I
Mhm.
wanted to prove I wanted to prove that to somebody. But I realized, no, you're not trying to prove it to somebody. You're trying to prove it to yourself. Yeah.
I am so grateful that you responded the way that you did, and that we're finally getting you to open up and share things that
Mhm.
I've never heard from you before,
I don't think
because
I've ever shared it.
I'm starting to understand, like, the reason why we're able to connect so much with chemistry is because we have a lot of damn similarities I never knew existed. From the point of being that academic kid, man, I always mentioned the point, just like you mentioned, of, being that go-to kid. I was that same kid in school up until the time that I started rebelling and stopped caring.
Yeah, what,
But
junior year?
turning down practically full ride scholarship, all that stuff, just like to show the example of like, none of that really appealed to me.
Yeah.
And then from at home, going to school and having everybody talk you up and being like, yo, like you're smart. And then going home and not really feeling that creates a sense of rebellion in your mind that you start to chase outside of school and academia. And that's part of the reason why I got involved with business, kind of out of an act of rebellion that turned into something that I came to appreciate and turned into my therapy, dude. And it's really, wow. I'm kind of dumbfounded right now because somewhat you touch on, man, like I'm hearing myself talk and it's strange. It's cool though, because I never anticipated that from you. That's cool.
Yeah. So those are some things I've had to overcome for sure. And hey, do not get me wrong. I am extremely grateful for my parents. They're wonderful human beings. I'm extremely proud of the fact that they've parented me, and they've parented me incredibly well, in my opinion.
Single child?
No, I have a younger sister.
I did not know that.
Yeah, I have a younger sister, 3 years younger than me.
Okay.
And she's incredible. She's fantastic. If you're listening to this, I love you. I don't know if she'll listen to this. I have no idea. But,
you should get her to subscribe, man.
I should. That's a good idea. Yeah, you're right.
Come on now.
I'm not even sure if she subscribed to me, to be honest with you.
Start with me, and then we'll move over to you.
There we go.
Family's more difficult.
No, I think she is. She is. But I'm extremely. I think they raised me with really good values. That's something I'm really proud of, and I'm glad that happened. Like things like, because of the travel experiences, I did not grow up very materialistic. I grew up experience oriented, relationships oriented. They taught me how to treat people right. I remember thinking it was so weird, and I thought it was an Asian thing, where you're like yelling at your kids, and then you pick up the phone and you sound really nice. I thought that was just like an Asian, like they're just trying to be polite. But I love that, because it showed me no matter what the hell is going on in your life, when you're dealing with other people, you got to be nice. Because you don't know what they're going through. You're dealing with crap, but that doesn't mean the other person's dealing with crap, and they sure as hell don't know how to deal with your crap.
You're right.
You deal with your crap. Except maybe obviously involve the people close around you, but other than that, dude, like, come on. I learned to value family a lot. I remember there was definitely that stage where my mom and my dad would say, like, especially my mom, you can only trust family. Like, family's the people, and I hated that. I was like, no, friends, man, friends. But I was a high school kid. What was a friend? A friend was anybody who you sat next to for like 5 days a week. That's it.
Right.
And I love my friends. I still think friends are incredibly important. I do not agree with that statement that it's just family, but I learned to value family because I wasn't. And so there are a lot of incredible values that I think I've gotten, and that have really driven me forward. I think personal development was something that they allowed me to do. They did, in many cases, allow me to explore myself. And like one thing they allowed me to do because I wanted to was get into martial arts. And I am forever grateful I did that, because if I had not done that, I do not believe I would be the person I am today. I do not believe I would be sitting here with you, to be quite frank with you, if I hadn't gone. And so I'm very grateful for that, because that has made a very big impact on me, values and whatnot. And so, yeah.
To talk about that perspective, though, you've touched on having a child's view on the world. You know, as a child, and before we, you know, it's the whole nature versus nurture argument. Kids don't see color. They don't see differences. They don't see genders. They don't see politics. They don't see religion. They see people for people. And those experiences that you had when you were younger of going overseas and traveling and seeing the world, you're viewing this and like, wow, this is awesome, because you're viewing it for what it is, not based off of what you're told that it is. And that's such a great perspective to have, man. As an adult, having that viewpoint towards life of just like, the best experiences are the ones that you kind of just take yourself out and you're just experiencing. You're just taking it in, man. You don't have to worry about some fucking itinerary. You just go live and you go travel. You don't know what's going on. You just do it. And man, I'm feeling fired up in this energy flood, because I'm like, man, I'm ready to go back out and just experience again. And now with the country opening up again and the world opening up, like, you know, I've been telling my woman, I'm like, we're going to Italy next year. As soon as the countries open up, we're taking an international trip, baby. We're
brother,
going.
Italy is amazing, brother.
We're going. Well, I mean, I've had the opportunity to go to France, but she hasn't had the opportunity to travel yet. And I'm like, we're getting you out over there. We're getting over
Italy is a
there,
good place to be.
Most definitely. Now,
and I want to give you credit for pointing this out, because that is a very good point. Having that child's perspective, and that what you just said has served me so incredibly well. And I wish I knew how to help people develop that sense of not seeing all these I mean, I think it's very cliche to say, I don't see color, I don't see race, whatever. Screw off, okay? um honestly, it's not the sense of because some people be like, oh, you're not respecting the fact that Black people have gotten to go through all this or this. No, of course, I absolutely respect that. I understand history. I'm a student of history. I love that, and I respect the hell out of that. And there have been some crazy things people have gone through in history, of course, but at the same time, we're all people, and regardless of our history and our background, we're all people. And there are some level of connection and respect that is demanded almost just by that alone. Absolutely. And so for me, I mean, that was a value that I had. Like I never had to worry. I never had to think about, oh, this person, this skin color, therefore I treat them. No.
You just treat people as you want to be treated, man. Like that, the golden rule, right? Talk about cliches, but cliches oftentimes have meaning. Now, over the past couple of months,
yes,
I've been expanding out the team for Mashman Ventures, and by the time this airs in July, I'll have the team packed out and filled, and we're set and ready to grow and rock. But I brought you on as a consultant for the company. Sir. And why don't we talk about that a little bit, man? Because I'd love for you to share, maybe your experience up until this point, and maybe giving a little bit of insight. This is me asking for myself, and for the company, but giving insight into what we're building and how we're building it out, versus just being some solo man, internet company, man. Because that's what we're trying not to do. Yes.
No, I mean, first of all, I want to say thank you for the opportunity and for giving me that position. I'm incredibly appreciative of it, and of your trust in me, brother. Let me just kind of go back a little bit for the listeners here. I've known Isaac, as he said, since August 2019. He was episode 5 guest on my podcast. Whether that was a good interview or not, I have no idea, because that was episode 5 and I damn don't remember it. But we had a great conversation, and I remember it was the start of an incredible friendship that we've enjoyed. Of course, we've done business together. We co-hosted a podcast together for a while. We've done a couple of different things together. As I've gotten to know Isaac, and he's touched on this as well, we very much have a synergy, right? We bounce ideas off of each other. We connect with each other in very important ways. And in a lot of ways, we actually have different perspectives, very different perspectives in some ways. And we've been able to have some very interesting conversations as a result of that. And I think that one thing that we've done for each other is we've kind of reeled each other back in a little bit. For example, you've helped me a lot on my give. And you've helped me realize, like, yo, you got to take care of yourself a little bit too. Because that was something that I was lacking. And so you've helped me on that. And I don't know what I've done for you. That's something you'd have to answer, but we've been able to help each other out. And the other thing we've been able to do is believe in each other's vision. And I think that is the primary reason why I am honestly very proud and very excited to be part of the Mashman Ventures team. I'm very honored by it, because I do believe in your vision, and I do believe in the way you're going. And I believe, 1, you've got a good head on your shoulders. 2, you've got a good heart. And 3, on top of the good head on your shoulders, you also have a sense of humility also. You know what the hell you're doing, but you're also the fact that you're, 1, you decided, hey, I want a consultant. But in general, by the way you study incredibly hard. And I don't know how many people get to see that about you, but you are very much a student of success. And you're not just somebody who talks. You read, you listen a lot. And because of these traits, I think that's very, very important. And that's what allows me to buy into you. And because of our values, of course. And so with Mashman Ventures and public relations, you have, and I know you know what you're doing, and I know your history in terms of what you've been focusing on in business, and in terms of what you're able to do for people. And so what am I here for? I mean, initially, I'm gonna be honest, I don't know what I was here for. I was like, I mean, Isaac knows what the hell he's doing. But I also understand that there is value that I'm able to add because you know what you're doing, and you brought me on as a result. So what I had to think about, okay, what am I doing here, right? Because I'm not the guy joining this company to directly work with all our clients at Mashman Ventures. What I am here to do is fill in the gaps. As you and I have done for each other, I can do for the clients. Where you're missing something, maybe I can add something. There are certain things that my personality or my character or my focus tends to work a little bit more than yours. My background is a little bit different in terms of what I focused on, what I understand in business and personal development. In many ways, we're the same. Where maybe we can fill in the gaps. Maybe we can reinforce each other. Maybe, whatever it is. And so honestly, I just bought into your vision. I think that's the main reason. Chase the vision. There you go. And yeah.
There we go. I appreciate you saying that, brother. And that's where you have provided value to me, giving me a different perspective, right? Different people, it goes back to the personality traits in that test, right? And I need to actually take one again because so much has changed, I think, with my personality. But you're a little bit more straightforward of viewing things with like viewing it more from like an engineering perspective of like the actual logical perspective, and I can sometimes be up in the clouds, and I'm fine with that. I think that's good, but you also are able to view things from a different light, and that's why I brought you on. So I appreciate you sharing that, man. And going back to studying, and a lot of times people can sometimes get the wrong perception of me and view me as cocky or full of ego with sometimes the way that I hold myself. But it's not that I don't listen or I don't pay attention to opinions. It's just I'm picky with who I take to heart and what opinions I really take to heart. Because it goes back to who are you learning from and who are you studying? Now you can learn just as much from a homeless man as a rich man, but in different ways. And sometimes I've had to cut off relationships simply because they view me in the wrong perspective because I have a little bit too much self-respect to maybe I'm not going to listen to you because your track record doesn't show the same thing that you're saying. And that's okay. Sometimes you have to make those difficult decisions, man.
Great.
So I want to go in and take this back. So what's next? Where are you going?
Where am I going? Well, obviously, short term is looking at finishing up this university and growing my businesses and growing. Of course, part of that is going to be growing Mashman Ventures as well. I know that you have some incredibly ambitious goals, and I love that. And that's exciting for me as well. I look forward to saying in my mid-20s that millions of dollars are going through me every month. I look forward to being able to say that in my mid-20s. And then, I mean, honestly, everything I said in the beginning of, what I'm doing in my early 20s for family, mid to late 20s in business, and then transitioning into my 30s into working in nonprofits and helping people and servicing people, and helping other people. I think that's the vision right now, and I'm incredibly excited for it.
Love it. Well, Eric, man, this has been a phenomenal interview. And I'm glad that you have opened up and shared some of these things because this man like allows people to really, really connect with you. Now, where can people support you? Where can people find you? Where can people, show that love?
Absolutely. Yeah. So Isaac shouted out earlier, but number one is the podcast. Of course, you can just Eric Chow podcast, Google it, you'll find it. But the actual title is the Eric Chow Empowers podcast. By the time this comes out, I'll say we have 51, 52 episodes out, something like that. And that's been a wonderful journey so far in the past almost 2 years now, going on 2 years.
Wow.
In August. Yeah. So by the time this comes out, almost 2 years in August. So social medias @_Chow Eric, @_CHOWERIC, Instagram, Twitter. You can probably find me on LinkedIn and Facebook as well. Happy to connect there. It's not _Chow Eric. I think it's Eric-Chow8 or something like that. I need to work on this thing. I know you're very good at this, but yeah, I have another link that I'll give to Isaac with everything. So it'll just be one link, but
Phenomenal. That'll be underneath the YouTube in the description. And man, do you have any like closing words, tips, words of advice, something that's on your heart today that maybe you want to share?
Let's see. Time equals life.
Don't even
Time,
explain that. Don't even explain that. Let people think about this and resonate. Time equals life.
yes, sir.
Man. Well, guys, thank you for tuning into another amazing episode. Go ahead and show Eric some love. I don't even care if you don't share this episode. At least go and share Eric's socials. Show him some love. Tune into his podcast and be on the lookout for a new episode every Monday and every single Friday. Much love. And Eric, thank you for being on.
My pleasure, brother. Thank you so much.